Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and I welcome you all to a very important session, which is to analyze the failure in the AAA paper in the bracket of 45 to 49 marks. Now, whenever the results are announced, just like the March 2023 exam results, as a tutor, I do get so many messages from the students that we have flunked in 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. And they're very demotivated because the student failed to identify why he or she has flunked. Now, the purpose of this session is to investigate the reasons, is to investigate what should be the next step forward once you have failed in the bracket of 45 to 49, and what basically is the issue why you are failing in that bracket of 45 to 49 marks. So let's open this discussion and let's start to investigate the failure, which is a very close failure because 50 is the barrier you're all aiming at. And when you flunk at 45 to 49, you're very demotivated because you think you just flunked by few marks and you're very desperate. You want to go for rechecking, you want to go for an administrative review, you believe that I have not been rewarded the right set of marks. This is all the frustration which is coming out from the student mind. In reality, this is not the case, right? Your papers are very well marked. That is a rigorous marking process. That's an independent marking process. So there is no doubt on the marking process being carried out. It's just about you were expecting to pass, but you couldn't because probably the number of marks you allocated to yourself on the basis of your self-assessment when you come out of the exam hall and you believe, okay, I might get 60, I might get 64. And at the end of the day, you get 48. So probably you're trying to find the reasons between 48 and 64, what you've self-assessed. You're not trying to investigate that what went wrong in that 3 hours and 15 minutes, where you panicked, where your answer quality went down, where you did not drafted a good answer, where you didn't understand a requirement, or where you tried to overlook something which you realized at the end of the exam. So you need to sit down and you need to assess yourself because that assessment is very important for the next step forward. Now, this is just an introduction of how things build up once you fail at the bracket of 45 to 49 and what sort of things might go into your mindset. First of all, you need to calm yourself up and then move forward. Let's start to investigate. Now, the very first thing, once you fail at 45 to 49, is to take the next step. And that's very difficult because you need to take the right decision. Either you need to approach your mentor, you need to approach your friend who you trust, or someone who you trust to discuss with him or her that what should be the next step you are taking. Should you plan your resitting in June, or should you defer your resitting from June and you take it to September 2023? Because sometime a student might be failing in the AAA paper in the bracket of 45 to 49 or in the bracket of 40 to 49 for last 3 attempts and 4 attempts. In that sort of a case, as a tutor, I do advise the students to take a break if you are failing for 3 to 4 consecutive exam sittings. So I think that's a good decision to take a break from June and shift to September. So you get a fair enough time to rethink your strategy, a fair enough time to talk to your teachers and your mentors and find the right strategy to help you pass and getting your papers checked and doing lots of past papers. But if you have failed for the first time, and that was your first sitting, and you flunked into 45 and 49, then the advice is to immediately go for the next exam sitting in June without wasting time, because you have a lot of knowledge which is there in your mindset, and you just don't want to forget that knowledge. So it's better to just fine-tune yourself and find where you went wrong with an interaction with your mentor or your teacher or your friend, and just try to rethink your exam strategy for June, and just go and attack the June exams immediately. So I believe the exam results were out a couple of days ago. I'm doing the session a bit late. So by now, or this point in time, you must have taken that decision that what is your next step. Either it's June or it's September. And even if you are still doubtful, I hope the session would be helping you down with what should be the next step. Sometime it do happen that when the results are out for March, you have already started to study for the next paper. Might be the AFM paper or the ATX paper, or might be the SBL paper, and you get your AAA result and you got flunked. Now you have to take another decision that the paper you were preparing for, like AFM or ATX or SBL, when the result came out and you got flunked, what should you do with that paper? Should you go with that paper which you were already preparing when the result was out? Or should you defer that paper to September and you should do the flunked paper first in June? Or should you do the flunked paper and the paper you were preparing for together in June? Now, these are all sort of probabilities and decisions which might come in front of you, and you need to take the right course of action, what suits you best in the circumstances you are in. You might need to look at your financial side as well, because there could be a huge financial implication when you fail in a paper and you want to move next and reattempt it. You must already be preparing for another paper. So you need to look into the financial implications. Can you manage both or one? You need to see, do you had a certain target or a goal to complete your ACCA by the end of 2023? That will also be a matter of concern, how you would plan your June and September exam sittings. So I think a lot of things would come in before you choose your next best exam strategy. But again, for AAA, it all depends upon how many attempts you are failing in. If you're failing for the last 20 attempts, then I prefer give a break, go for September, else go for June. That should be the one clear direction you can take in. Now, having decided the next step, which might take a day and two for you to sit down and analyze and realistically think on the financial side and on the practical side and the goals you have set for 2023, and then taking the right decision. Now, whatever decision you have taken, whether it's for June or September, the most important thing you should do now is to rethink your study strategy. There was something wrong in your study approach for March, which resulted in a failure. Or even if there was nothing wrong in your study approach for March, which resulted in a failure, you did something wrong in the 3 hours and 15 minutes of your exam duration. Because I believe at the end of the day, the more important factor is your performance inside 3 hours and 15 minutes. A lot of time the students ask that we were so good in an area of risk, or we were so good in the areas of reporting, then why we failed? Because see, you need to understand the scenario which comes in the real exam is different from the one you've practiced. When you're practicing in a class, when you're practicing with a tutor, when you're practicing in a class-based environment, lots of things are guided, lots of things are known to you, and answering a question becomes easier because the guidelines are there. But when you are sitting with a real case study in front of you in 3 hours and 15 minutes, and you yourself has to take the right decisions in that 3 hours and 15 minutes, and you might come across a paragraph in a case study which you don't understand, and you come into a panic mode. Or you might fail to identify the accounting treatment in a paragraph and you come into a panic mode. And that's where things gets to a disastrous track. How much emotional stability you have in the exam is very important. How calm you keep yourself in exam. How calm you keep yourself when you come in an unusual situation in an exam environment. Because see, at the end of the day, in a real exam, knowing the 100% paper and knowing everything in the case study, that's next to impossible. There might be something in the case study which you fail to understand. There might be a certain paragraph in the case study which you must be looking for the first time, and you've not seen a certain paragraph in the prior papers, there must be a certain requirement which is a bit different from what you've seen in the past paper. That is the time when the right decisions have to come in. That is the time when anyone who controls the emotion, who keeps calm, and who takes the right decision with that calmness is the one who will be successful. But if you get to panic, and if you start uh, uh, if you get off track with just one paragraph or just one requirement for 6 marks or 4 marks or 8 marks, and you spoil your remaining 90 marks or you spoil your remaining 92 marks just with that one requirement and overthinking on that and getting stressed out with that requirement, you're taking a wrong decision. Because I believe the emotional stability and how much calm you keep yourself in 3 hours and 15 minutes, and try to do your best what you know and try to attack on the opportunities is better. Because if you don't know something, don't come into panic, ignore and move on. It's a computer-based exam, you can come back and answer it, but don't spoil the opportunities. A lot of time the students spoil the opportunities by something they don't know. You don't. It could be unrealistic that you don't know the whole 100 marks paper, but it is quite realistic that you might not know a 10% of the paper. But for the 10% of the paper, why you are spoiling the remaining 90% of your paper? That's the question you need to ask yourself. So I think taking the right decisions in 195 minutes, in 3 hours and 15 minutes, keeping yourself calm, composed, attacking on the opportunities, grabbing the opportunities is also what results in success or failure. So rethinking your study strategy in terms of the approach you should be taking for June or September is now what we are discussing. The study strategy for success. It's not anything different I'm discussing. It's the same study strategy you must have taken for March, but it's just about discussing, and that discussion can really be beneficial for all of you. First of all, I believe because you have flunked, so no need to go back to the books. And you're flunked in the bracket of 45 to 49, which is technically a failure, which is due to lack of exam practice, which is due to the lack of writing a good answer. That has nothing to do with your technical knowledge. A failure into 45 and 49 is considered as a failure which relates with answering the question. It's not relating with reading the books or technical knowledge, nothing like that. That failure could be in 20s or 30s. Practice of past papers, recent ones on the platform. And you know, the recent one on the practice platform is 2020, December, then 2021, 2022. There's no 2023 paper yet available on the day I'm conducting this session. This is the 30th of April today. So I've just checked the exam practice platform. The latest exam is the December 22. So you start from December 20, then 21, then 22. These are recent papers available on the practice platform where you should give your focus, because you have flunked in 45 to 49. You're not going behind in 2018 and 19, not at all. Recent papers. I'll just show you a glimpse of those recent papers available on the practice platform for the sake of your guidance. I hope you can see that screen in front of your gadgets now. You go to the international, you see the past exam library, and in the past exam library, you can see an overall 6 papers given in. You have a paper from 2020, which is December. Then you have 2 papers for 2021, which is the June 21 and December 21. And then you have 3 papers for this 22. You have a December 22 paper, you have a June 22 paper, and you have a September 22 paper. So in all, you have 6 recent papers to practice on the practice platform. If you want to do the practice exams valid from September 22 onwards, there are 3 practice exams available for September 22 onwards. So that could be 6 plus 3, 9. But if you want to stop at 6, that's also better. But if you still believe after 6 you want to do more, then do the practice exams valid from September 22 onwards. So that will be 6 plus 3, a total of 9 papers. So that's what you should be doing. But the primary focus has to be the 6 past papers available on the practice platform. So that's number 1. Now, when you're practicing, you're writing the answer. When you're practicing, you're reading the question. When you're practicing, you write an answer and you want the answer to be checked by someone. Now, if you're enrolled in any tutor course, either with me or with anyone else, then that's the first opportunity to get your answer checked and get a feedback from your tutor, whether you are approaching the answer well or not. Get a constructive feedback. Marks doesn't matter. Giving you 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 doesn't matter, because the feedback matters. What was good, what was bad. So to me, numbers are irrelevant. The feedback is important. So the practice followed by the feedback. Now, if you're a self-study student, you don't have that opportunity because you're not enrolled in a course where a tutor can give you a feedback. Then you have to rely on evaluating your answer yourself. Next, review 3 latest examiner reports to identify your shortcomings. 3 latest examiner reports available on the ACCA website. So it could be December 22, it could be September 22, and then June 22, the 3 latest ones, whichever. Read them to identify your shortcomings, to identify where you went wrong, to identify what is the criticism of the examiner. I hope you read that, because sometimes you don't. And you might be doing a silly mistake or a mistake in your actual paper, which the examiner has already criticized in the previous examiner reports. And if you read after attempting your real paper, it's useless. Read it now. And examiner reports are so investigative, so lengthy, that they give you a deep investigation of the good and the bad. And if you are attempting the December 22 paper on the portal, on the exam practice platform, after you've written the answer for December 22 paper, before you get to the tutor and ask the tutor, check my paper, I would first suggest download the December 22 examiner report, read the December 22 examiner report, and see, is there anything in the December 22 examiner report which the examiner is criticizing, and you have done that in your answer. Underline that in your answer. Underline that in your answer. This is the mistake I've done because the examiner was not happy with it. You can self-evaluate your script before you give it to your tutor. You can self-identify your weaknesses before you give it to the tutor. And you can do it for the latest papers. So if you're doing the December 22 paper, after you have written the answer, review the examiner report, underline the weaknesses you have done as per the examiner feedback, and you will identify your weaknesses. You will identify why you got 45 to 49. If you can even identify 3 to 4 weaknesses in every answer you are writing, December 22, read the examiner report. You do the September 22, read the examiner report. You do the June 22, read the examiner report before you give this script to the tutor and ask, can you check it? So that's self-evaluation. If you are able to find your few mistakes, that few mistake means you're inching towards 50 from 45 or 46 or 47, 48 or 49. Because each weakness you underline in your answer as per the examiner report is what you will not be repeating in the upcoming exam. So if you productively use the examiner report, which I believe most of you don't, you can really benefit and you can really translate your 45 to 49 marks into success. So I hope you will follow this, you'll stick to this, and you will follow this approach before you approach for the paper checking by the tutor. Read examiner answers of recent 3 exam settings, bracket with some reservations. Because I believe number 3 is very popular among students. They don't read examiner reports. They love to read examiner answers. But I am talking about reading examiner answers with some reservations, which student don't take account of. Student read examiner answers and then they get demotivated. And they come back to the tutor and they ask the tutor, examiner answers are so lengthy. I've written such a short answer. Examiner answers are so lengthy. You wrote a very short answer in your lecture. And they try to idealize the examiner answers. They try to get inspired with examiner answers. They try to match the examiner answer. They try to match their own answer with examiner answer, and they say, my answer didn't reconcile with examiner answer. My 10% answer only reconciled with examiner answer. And then they start becoming demotivated when they should not become demotivated. There are some reservations when you're reading the examiner answer. Reading the examiner answer is good, but with reservations which you're not taking account of. Let's look into the reservations. Number one, first of all, you all need to understand, which I have educated over years, that examiner answers are tutorial guidance. They're not written in the time frame of 3 hours and 15 minutes. Examiner is trying to tell you in the answer that these are all the possibilities which could have been present in the case study or could have been written. He's not telling you that this is all what should be written. For example, if a business risk question, the marking scheme for business risk is 2 marks, and you got 8 marks in exam. Now, 8 marks means divided by 2, you're writing 4 business risk. When you see the examiner answer for an 8 marks business risk, he might be writing 7, 6, 8. And you start to believe, okay, I have to write this much. This is first wrong thing you're doing. Examiner also give you the marking scheme, right? Why? Why the examiner published the marking scheme at the end of the answers? To know how much you need to write in the exam time management. You already know the students struggle with time management in AAA paper, even by writing shorter answers. And if you try to idealize the examiner answer, then what worst you are doing to yourself? So read examiner answers with some reservation. Number one, keep it in mind that examiner answers are tutorial guidance. They're not written in 3 hours and 15 minutes. They're writing extra points to guide you that these are all the possibilities which could have been identified from the case study. They're writing very long accounting treatments because they want you to educate on accounting treatments. They want to tell you, okay, this is the accounting treatment given in the accounting standards for you to learn, but not to write that much. They want to give you education from the examiner answer. They want to educate you that you can learn accounting treatments from examiner answer and you can shorten them up and write in your own answers. So guidance, lengthy answers, number of points available in the case study, which could have been written, but examiner is not asking you to write all of them because you need to see the marking scheme. For a 6 marks answer on procedures, you need to write 6 procedures because every procedure is worth 1 mark. Examiner might be writing 9, 10, 11 to give you a knowledge that these are all possible procedures which could have been in your answers. So first of all, it's a theoretical paper. And a theoretical paper is a subjective paper where you have to take your own judgments. You have professional skills, right? You have professional skills in part of the AAA paper worth 20 marks, which includes skeptical mindset, which includes judgment, which includes evaluation, which includes analysis. So examiners looking for your own, is looking for your own basis, is looking for your reasonings and explanations, is looking for your justification to reward you. If the materiality taken by the examiner is at 6% threshold of profit, and you took it at 7% threshold of profit, you need to justify that because examiner tells that there is no one right answer for materiality. I hope you know that in question number 1, you need to set the benchmark now as per the new requirements. And if the examiner is taking a 6% benchmark and you're taking 7 of the profit, you need to justify why you take 7. There's no right and wrong answer. 6 is not the right answer. Examiner himself tells that his judgment of materiality is not right. You can take your own. So theoretical paper, right? Where 2 plus 2 is not 4. It is not a numerical paper, but 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 and 4 is the right answer. And any student says 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 will be a wrong answer. That could be a numerical paper, but this is a theoretical paper where 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 is even a right answer and 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 is even a right answer if you justify your basis, your conclusions. And that's where professional marks plays a crucial part. Reasonings, judgments, underlying basis. So if you're giving that, you're scoring the professional marks, which is one main area where you're failing the AAA paper because you're not scoring much on the professional sides. So read the examiner answers for value addition. Read the examiner answer for learning something. Read the examiner answer for how he explains something. Read the examiner answer for how he evaluates something. Read the examiner answer for the type of procedures he write, and you can learn them for the next exam sitting. You can remember that for the next exam sitting. So there could be a lot of value addition which you can learn and then apply in the next exam paper you are doing. That is possible. But if you start to get idealized at the length of examiner answer, how long he writes, and you get impressed with that, you will not even be completing 50% of your actual paper in exam standards. So read recent 3 answers for value addition. Number 3. Number 4, do the mock, which will be published by ACCA for June 23 exams. And I think it will be around mid-May or post-mid-May. ACCA published the June 23 mock exam under the practice exams. I've shown you the 3 practice exams for September 22 on the practice platform. ACCA do publish the mock exam there, so please be careful. And you also get emails from ACCA that the mock exam has been published, so you can make use of that as well. So do the mock, which will be published by ACCA. And if you are registered in my course, you will get a benefit of a mock debrief, which I upload for my students to self-evaluate their script. But again, if you're a self-study student, you need to rely on the mock answers given by ACCA to self-evaluate where you went wrong. And ACCA also do a mock debrief session for students publicly. So you can benefit from the ACCA mock debrief session, which is conducted by ACCA. And again, student gets information of that. But as a tutor, I also do my mock debrief as well, which is again accessible only with to my registered students. Read recent articles. The recent articles published in the last 3-4 months and just in the month of April as well, April 2023. The exam technique ones by the examining team on ethics, business risk, audit risk, and overall question number 1. If you're not familiar with this, examining team has recently published some exam technique articles. I've already covered a video of that on YouTube. You can watch that, the recent articles in AAA. But you can see these are articles published by the examining team just in the last few months. If I can show you that. I hope you can see the technical articles now in front of your screen for AAA. Yes, you can see it. So under the syllabus area B, which is ethical area B, examining team has published an article, Ethics in the AAA paper. And this article, Ethics in the AAA paper, is just an technique article guiding you how to write a good ethics answer, not a knowledge article at all, not covering the ethical standards, but just giving you example of how you write a good answer by taking a past paper as an example and writing the answer for it. So this is a technique article which you should all be reading in. Then under the syllabus area D, right here, approach to section A question in AAA. Examining team is telling you how you should approach the question number 1. What you should do in the question number 1 to gain most of the marks. So you should read this out. Again, this is not a knowledge article, just how you write an answer for question number 1. Then exam technique 1 and 2, right here, how to write a good business risk answer, number 1, and how to write a good audit risk or ROM answer, number 2. So all the articles published in the recent 3 months are all technique-based articles of how to write a good answer. So if you write a business risk answer at home, you can read the examiner report for business risk answer, and then you can read the examiner technique article on business risk answer to identify where are the shortcomings in your business risk answer. Same you can do with audit risk. You write an audit risk answer and then evaluate your audit risk answer with the examiner report and then with the exam technique article. You write an ethics answer and you can compare your ethics answer with the exam technique article to know how you develop a point and how the examiner develop a point, and you can learn from it for your upcoming exams. So these are 4 recent articles, 3 under the syllabus area D, 1 under the syllabus area B, and I've already covered that on my YouTube session. You can watch that video, recent updates of articles in AAA. Okay, back to my presentation. Study strategy for success. We have reached number 5, reading recent articles, because you have flunked, so you should know the recent articles, not the prior ones. You need to understand you have failed, so you're not starting from 0. You're starting from a different level. So practicing the recent papers, the one on the platform, reviewing 3 latest examiner reports, reading the examiner answers of recent exam settings, doing the mock, reading the articles. See, nowhere is the books because you flunked in 45 to 49. And finally, if financially possible. Let me underline that. If financially possible, you can afford it, do buy and watch my webinar for success June 23 bundle, which is available as a pre-recorded version. First of all, the financial cost is very low. It has been kept low for a financial affordability because I do understand there is a global economic crisis. Primarily, there is a huge economic crisis in the country where I am and my student is, that is Pakistan. But outside even Pakistan, there is a huge economic worsening happening. And the financial affordability, primarily when you fail and you want to redo the exam, there is a huge financial burden as well. So the cost has been kept low. So if you can still afford it, do buy it and watch it, because the June 23 webinar bundle can really help you fine tune your success in the June 23 or September 23 exams, and can really provide you guidance on new articles, mock debrief, how to read examiner reports, how to practice the recent papers. Because I've done the recent papers in my webinars, so that would really benefit you. How you can afford or how you can buy the June 23 bundle of the webinars to success, because since I think September 22 was my last webinar, which I did publicly on YouTube. Since then, all my webinars are paid starting from December 22. So December 22, March 23, and June 23, all paid, and you can get them as one bundled. How to go for it. The June 23 webinar bundle, what's inside? This is what's inside. You will access the December 22 webinar, which is not publicly available. You will also access the March 23 webinar, which is not publicly available. And you will get hold of the mock debriefs I've done for December 22 and March 23. I think that's total 24 hours in all. A total of 24 hours of intense exam practice of recent papers, because in December 22 and March 23, I've done the most recent papers available. Guidance on the marking scheme, the updated guidance since September 22 exams, guidance on reading and planning to build up a good answer, current issues, the climatical change, which is the current issue for the last 6 months, has been covered in a video, and then videos on all new articles published since September 22. Since September 22 exams, all new articles published, there is a videos on each one of them. So that is something where you can learn the new articles and apply them in exam. And best thing is you get a June mock debrief. So the June mock debrief would be part of the June webinar as well. So you get the previous webinars, you get everything you want to know, and you get a debrief of the June paper. So that's all bundled up with a very low fees. You can check it out on my website, lms.kashifkamran.com, which is given at the bottom of the screen. This is how you can enroll for the June 23 webinar. You visit my website, which is given right here, lms.kashifkamran.com. You enroll and you pay. You can pay online from Pakistan or outside Pakistan. You can pay through bank transfers. In Pakistan, you can pay through bank transfers and cards. Outside, you can pay through cards. Multiple options to enroll. If you struggle, you can still WhatsApp me at my given number so I can guide you about how to take admissions. Once you take admission of the webinar, please do tell me that I've taken admission with a screenshot of your payment evidence and your name and email ID, and mentioning this is for webinar for June, so I can at least add you to the WhatsApp group where you can discuss things with me and other students if you're facing any problems. So joining the WhatsApp group, you need to WhatsApp me. And for any questions, you can also WhatsApp me pertaining to the admissions. But this is an easy looking admission process right over here. So this is how you can rethink your next exam strategy. If you're flunked from 45 to 49, whether you're going for June or September, you can still book this webinar. And even if you're going for September exams and you book the webinar now, you will also benefit from the September webinar then in the same cost. So this is how the webinar works in for your details, and this is how your study strategy should look like for getting success and getting 50+ marks in the AAA paper, because you failed to get so in the last exam setting. So this was the purpose, right? To guide you about taking the next step and to guide you about that post-failure, what you should be doing. So I hope this session would help you, and I wish you all a very best of luck for your upcoming exams in June or September, whenever you are giving it. Take good care of yourself. Have a good day. Take goodbye and Allah Hafiz. This is your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off from this session. Thank you.